A lot of ERM programs we see lack a maturity around the understanding of relationships between risks, whether it's a dependency, a root cause, a correlation, different ways to describe risk relationships.
I think that speaks to the resilience point. A lot of firms try and optimize using templates and models, and I think what Mark and I kind of look for is more this kind of robust approach, a resilient approach which survives through multiple time periods rather than surviving just the one like the guys in this building.
The outcomes of ERM done exceptionally well should be you help the organization become more adaptive, resilient, better prepared, and so on.
So I think there's a lot of change blindness, which is a well-researched phenomena where if you keep looking at the same thing, you miss the sort of peripheral thing that's going to hit you. So for emerging risk, having that template, the comfort crutch that you keep looking at over and over again, and you miss the new thing. And I think the approach we propose is much more dynamic and evolutionary, so it kind of adapts with the organization.
Well, enterprise risk management processes examine very different kinds of risks. Strategic operational risk are very different from market and credit, liquidity, financial type risks. They take different types of assessments, different types of techniques.
I think the use of different sciences that we've brought to bear across the proposition means that we can actually integrate the two. So you have the qualitative, the quantitative. One's necessary, for example, in financial services companies where they need to put dollars on a certain risk. But we can actually show how drivers impact those two things simultaneously, and I think that's hugely powerful.
Neil, as you know, we spend a lot of time with clients in building report packages, and those dashboards of charts and graphs allow us to overlay tolerance levels, limits, goals, key performance indicators in a way that's very important to senior executive management.
And I think for us that's really key in our proposition, is evidencing as much as we can about what's going on, so you can see the onset of new patterns, emerging risks early in the process. And a lot of that diagnosis doesn't happen if you don't have that flexibility in the way the data is being reported. When a client phones us and they have some ERM issue, I think for us it's important to build the rapport, to front-end load the benefits they get so they achieve an instant uptick in the maturity of their ERM. So you need to invest and be there with them as their situation changes and adapts over time. And Milliman really wants that relationship. We don't want to just kind of deliver a template and leave.
And we want to teach the organization how to understand risk and to be able to scan the internal and external environment tomorrow, next week, next month, next quarter, next reporting period.
And I think for us, by developing a robust strategy for clients, they actually end up being more efficient. So I think for Milliman, in terms of our approach, that's quite powerful. It gives the client that slightly more efficient approach to enterprise risk.
I think that's a good point, Neil. It reminds me also of the emphasis we place on auditability and archivability of risk data. We do spend a lot of time with our clients regarding platforms, systems, data collection procedures and methods. That's very important as you move that data up into analytics, especially actuarial processes, which provide for business intelligence, and then we make sure we push that information down to the right people at the right time so they make good decisions. A lot of companies are looking past the traditional advisors for a fresh view, a creative approach, an approach that blends the scientific with the qualitative, and also has a unique knowledge of systems, platforms, and data. But it's the actuarial history of the company, I think, that gives us such a unique approach. Because that experience of over 60 years in measuring risk is really at the heart of enterprise risk management.
I think when you look around during the current crisis that we're just hopefully now coming out of, you can see people who've relied on advice from a lot of places, and frankly the risk management was found wanting. And I think our proposition is different, it's more modern, it's more contemplative, and it actually reacts to the modern reality of business.